wanted to talk about Joe Biden and the media treatment of Biden. And if you can look behind me, you can see a beautiful Western Pennsylvania forest on the go a little bit right now. Reason why we haven't had too many posts over the political issues on the daily, but I will be back in force by Thursday. So there's I'm going to hop on the live chat right now. I will be here to take your questions and to have conversation. Heading over to the live chat as we speak. So let's talk about, shall we, the best laid plans of Jake Tapper and men, as in what has blown up on in Tapper on CNN's face. Oh, Aaron Quinn, hello, thank you for joining us. The rest of you, Substack decided you didn't deserve names. It says Aaron Quinn and 9 others have joined. Well, hello, Aaron, and to the other 9 of you, if you'd like to say hi in the chat, I'm right here, and you can introduce yourself right away. Alice and 7 others joined. Hello, Alice. I'm sorry, 7 other people, that Substack did not deem you worthy of having your name mentioned. I am in the middle of a forest at the moment, so I don't know how well this internet connection is going to hold up. So we're going to try to get down to it. This is going to be a little bit shorter than normal. Let's see here. Angela Brightfeather. Hello, Angela. Cheryl Thomas. Hi, Cheryl Thomas. MB, greetings from Western New York. I hope you guys enjoy the beautiful scenery. About an hour ago, it was much nicer here in the forest. There were little animals running around, all kinds of things. The sun was out and bright. Of course, by the time it took me to get ready and get everything set up, the sun has gone in a little bit. It's kind of cloudy. But we're here to talk about Joe Biden. Greetings from Boise, Idaho. Hi, Lori. Greetings from a forest in Pennsylvania. I'm so used to saying Western Pennsylvania. I'm actually we're not quite in Western Pennsylvania. Karen Falk. Hi, Karen. Rachel Hendricks. Hello from Hillsdale. Karen's in Oklahoma. Hi, Karen. I feel like I'm doing one of those Today Show birthday segments, and would like to say happy birthday, 120 years young, to Irving in Dallas. But yeah, but that's a made up one, of course. So let's talk about Joe Biden and Jake Tapper. CNN was really heavily invested in Jake Tapper's book. And as you could tell, if you followed any of the news coverage lately, the media was heavily invested in Jake Tapper's book. There's been a couple other Biden books out there floating around about his quote unquote cognitive decline. And the Tapper one was the big one that they were all going to hammer on. You could see it if you watched any of the Sunday shows, if you watched cable news, anytime a Democrat came on, the plan was they were going to go after that Democrat with questions about Joe Biden. And I personally love what happened when they asked Hakeem Jeffries this. And Hakeem Jeffries ran through the list of all the special elections the Democrats have won since voters, quote unquote, lost trust in the Democratic Party over Joe Biden. Man, Jake Tapper and the media were just so sure there was a cover-up about Biden's age and supposed decline. I don't know. I say supposed because I don't know Joe Biden. I've never met Joe Biden. Been lucky enough to be in the same room as Joe Biden a handful of times. Never actually met him. So I don't know. That's the honest answer. I don't know. I don't know what Biden was like before. I don't know what he was like in 2024. All I can tell you is that in comparison to the decisions of the guy that the media thinks is totally fine and what he's doing right now, Joe Biden seems pretty okay to me. Martha Linville. Hi, Martha. Judy C. Hello. Gretchen and Donna Apple have joined us. Thank you. So, Biden looks pretty okay compared to what the guy who the media raises no questions about is doing right now. But it turns out, as you all have heard, because it's been all over the news, Joe Biden was actually pretty sick during the final year of his presidency. President Biden, I don't know if he had cancer at the time or maybe he was just trying to get sick, but President Biden now has stage 4 prostate cancer, which kind of puts a big damper on the whole, oh, there was a massive Democratic cover-up and Biden was so ill. Becca Crawling says age is criticized because it's easy. And you know what? Becca B. Crawling. Becca, you're completely right. Everybody, and I mean everybody, makes somewhat biased assessments of people based on their age. I say somewhat because it varies by degrees, but I see people on the left do this with Trump all the time. That's why I prefer to say declining and not say a person has this element or that element. I'm not a doctor, I haven't examined them, but I can compare how somebody performed, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago on video to how they're performing now and say something doesn't look right, something looks off. That's a pretty fair assessment that I think can be backed up with visual or audio evidence. I don't have to be a doctor or a neurologist to draw that conclusion. But the Tapper book, I haven't read the Tapper book. Honestly, I find those books to be worthless political fiction. All of them. They're not really. If you want a good telling of a presidential history, you have to wait a while, and it usually has to be done by historians. To give you an idea of this timeline, Tapper and his co-author completed this book. They started their interview process after the 2024 election, and it's out the following May. That's a 6 month turnaround for a book. That's pretty impressive. So, what I find interesting, if you really want to understand, there probably isn't any deep historical analysis of the Biden presidency or the 2024 campaign. They're all trying to do these sort of extemporaneous accounts in the style of Theodore White, The Making of the President, which he did a series year by year, starting in 1960, and I know went through 1976, possibly 1980. Um, it was a great series. The difference is Theodore White didn't was a historian slash journalist, didn't churn these books out in like a few months. So when you see a book that's been turned around in a few months, A, that book was written to capitalize on a current political environment in a moment. B, it doesn't have any serious or deep research. And C, it's disposable. It's a book of the moment. It's just something disposable that isn't really meant to be here. Teresa D. Hawkins, PhD. Dr. Hawkins. Hello. Doug and R. Grant Powers have joined. Hello. So, that kind of thing is never going to be a serious work. It's never going to be something that's going to be part of the historical record of a presidency. So, then they say, oh, but Tapper and his co author did these hundreds of interviews with these people. Well, that's kind of interesting because who did they interview? Well, it turns out a lot of the people they interviewed are all trying to dodge responsibility for the fiasco that was the 2024 election. They're trying to cover their own hides. They're the same people that told us that we had to get rid of Joe Biden and we had to run Kamala Harris to have any chance of winning, but at the same time knew that the Democrats weren't going to win the election while raising billions of dollars, now want to absolve themselves of any responsibility. Yeah. Oh, Robert. Hi, Robert. Robert says CNN is having Tapper's book presenting gossip as deep research. Is hawking Tapper's book presenting gossip as deep research? And yeah, the book is gossip. The book is a bunch of people within the DC Beltway trying to distance themselves from the 2024 election failure so they can get future work and make more money. If Biden would have won, this book wouldn't exist. The hundreds of interviews wouldn't be there. This is all just Rachel Hendricks, yellow journalism and muckraking. Yes, yellow journalism. Yeah, possibly muckraking. You know what? I'm not gonna. I could say yeah, I can give you that both of those actually. Um, this is nothing. This book, what I want to see, which is what I wrote in Politicus USA on the Daily on the Joe Biden story yesterday. Sometimes I get them crossed up. Um, was I want to see the book that contains the medical results, the medical testing, the doctors who conducted these examinations of President Biden. I want to see the evidence. Where's the medical evidence of a decline? Where is it? It's not in Jake Tapper's book. Jake Tapper's book is full of a lot of people saying there was a decline and they observed things. Now, granted, Joe Biden came into office as the oldest president in history. He got even older while in office. That's a good thing. He made it 40 years in the most grueling job in the world at his age. And now we know that he might have been dealing with cancer. Incredible. So it wouldn't be surprising when an older person is elected president if they show some signs of decline, because if you're doing the job, which as we know Donald Trump doesn't take seriously or actually do, you will experience a great deal of stress, physical, psychological, emotional, and you'll age. President, it's been proven the presidency can age a person by up to 10 years more than their biological age because it's that stressful. So, it's pretty amazing that Biden came out of it as he did. And how much of Biden's over time was the age factor? How much of it was the presidency? I mean, we don't know. Okay, Darlene Lewis has a good comment here. We didn't win because of all the ballot dumping, voter suppression, all of it. Yeah, you know what? I don't really buy the whole election was rigged kind of thing. But you know what? If you want to talk about voter suppression, yeah, if you want to talk about Elon Musk spending millions upon millions of dollars in key constituencies in swing states to spread dis and misinformation, if you want to talk about tactics that Republicans use to keep people from voting or dissuade people from voting, like the whole media narrative that Biden and Trump were the same and then Biden and Harris were the same, that was concocted by the Trump campaign and Republicans because Trump could not win an election unless it was a both candidates are bad and equal election. And that's the situation. You know, Alice, Alice joined. Hello, Alice. Boy, I am really happy to see all you here because I had to change up our time today and I'm on the go. Up, we have Trump's mental decline is on full display every day. And all they can talk about is, whoops, is Jake Tapper's book and Biden. It's disgusting. That's true. It is disgusting. Okay. I just want the media to explain, Alice. I just want the media to explain what's going on now with the current president and all the damage he's doing and how unfit he is. They're not going to do that. They're afraid of Trump. They're afraid of retribution. They're not going to come out and tell you everything he's doing. And some of it, actually, in all honesty, is pretty intricate. It's not something that fits well into a cable news segment. Even, well, now that Rachel Maddow's gone from one day to week, it wouldn't like Trump has done so much that even somebody like Rachel Maddow, who likes to focus on one thing and take it apart, she couldn't do that. With there's so much of this happening. So what we can do is because people like me, people like Sarah, us, what we can do is we have to dig it out the best we can and give you as much as we can. Like right now, my inbox is full of Democrats in the Senate today absolutely tearing apart members of the Trump administration. Chris Van Hollen on Marco Rubio, Maggie Hassan on Kristi Noem, Elizabeth Warren on Trump's nominee to be IRS commissioner. These are all hearings, and Democrats did a masterful job. And if I had the time and was be able to run my computer, I would present all of it to you because I know for a fact that otherwise you may not see it. Which, by the way, is a great reason to subscribe to Politicus USA and The Daily, because we try to bring you things that we know aren't going to make it on cable news. We know aren't going to make it to traditional mainstream outlets. You might get one of these stories on traditional mainstream media, legacy media, let's say. We try to bring you as much as we can because you need to know what's happening. Especially in this time, you need to know not only what the Trump administration is doing, but you need to know what the opposition is doing. And right now, the Senate, frankly, has more power. Senate Democrats, because of the rules process, have more power than House Democrats because the House is straight up majority rule. So Senate Democrats can leverage the tools at their disposal to kind of block legislation, block nominees. Like, look at Chuck Schumer putting a hold on all Trump's DOJ nominees after the jet story came out, that Trump was taking a jet from Qatar. That's the kind of thing. Senate Democrats have more power. So somewhat the frustrating element of this has been that the House Democrats have been so much more aggressive. The Senate Democrats have gotten better, but the House Democrats have been way more aggressive. I mean, And you have to remember the Senate rules prohibit Democrats from conducting their own investigations. The same rules don't exist in the House. So Democrats can launch investigations. They won't have the full power of the majority in the investigative process. Like they can't go run around issuing subpoenas or doing anything that they could do when they had the majority. But they can hold minority investigations and do their own research and demand documents and do all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking at some of these comments here. The GOP is funded by big corporate money, Lisa FB. That's why they're not too focused on their constituents. Oh, so true. Now, plenty of rich people and corporations fund Democrats as well. So let's not, miss the boat too much. But as a whole, Democrats really don't have a handful of singular donors that are, they don't have an Elon Musk. They don't have somebody coming in and buying off the party. So that is something to really keep in mind, the difference between the two parties. Now, could the Democrats do better? Sure, we could also have campaign finance reform. Again, part of my graduate thesis is the possibility of campaign finance reform and what it would do to American politics and how a grassroots movement could push for campaign finance reform. Uh, you know, the problem is that the Supreme Court has spent 50, almost 50 years blocking campaign finance legislation. So even if something got passed and signed into law, it would have to survive the conservative Supreme Court and not be overturned. I'm not sure about that, but I definitely think Democrats should be trying. So let's get back into like Biden. So what's the media to do? They've been doing this little, especially on CNN, this shady little pivot where they go, well, it's horrible that Biden has stage 4 cancer and it's spread to his bones and oh my goodness. But Jake Tapper has this new book about his mental decline. Like they're trying to separate the idea that the mental decline and Biden's cancer are two different things. Again, we don't know there's a mental decline. We don't know when the cancer started impacting Biden. So you can't do that. It's dishonest and disreputable to do that. And they're just trying to sell books. They're just trying to sell books. They're trying to take attention away from Trump because CNN, along with the other big mainstream networks, including MSNBC, seem to be terrified of Trump retribution. Absolutely terrified. So, exactly what are they so afraid of? What has made them abandon their journalistic principles? I mean, what has made them just totally forget? And you can say that it's corporate ownership. You can say that it's money and power. You can say that ideologically, the people on camera at CNN and the people running CNN, for example, but you can use any network, they're all very rich people. They're all like, the top anchors there. Like Jake Tapper's one of the 5 highest paid on camera people at CNN. He's not hurting for money. The same thing at MSNBC. Like these are not Fox News has sort of perfected the anchor as one of the regular folks. These people aren't regular people. They're making millions and millions of dollars, and that's why so many of them are often afraid to cross their corporate owners. Jim Acosta took a stand, and now Jim Acosta, I assume, is waiting for his non-compete to end and probably going to end up somewhere else. But he's over here on Substack with the Jim Acosta show. Uh, you know, those who take a stand, those who cross Trump in this media environment, they don't usually really survive. Um, you know, the whole, we were coming here from Darlene about has been orchestrated since Nixon dealing behind LBJ's back with the Vietnamese, committing treason, Reagan with the Iran hostages, George Bush was handed the presidency by the Supreme Court, George W. Bush. And now some of those very same people that have clerked for those justices are now justices themselves. This was a movie script nobody would buy, but it's been happening. It's been happening in real life. Yeah, I mean, this has been going on for a long time. There's always been in a two-party system. There's always going to be a little bit of shady underbelly kind of stuff. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. But there's allegations though to this day that the Kennedys there was some tomfoolery with the 1960 Kennedy Nixon election. But we're talking about here and now, and we're talking about why the media isn't why the media is obsessing over Joe Biden, why you should be angry about this. Because every moment they spend on Joe Biden is a conscious decision not to cover what Donald Trump is doing. Every moment. That's one less moment of accountability for the Trump administration. Every moment. They will not stand up, and so many of them, the AP did, and now Trump tried to ostracize the AP. They won't stand up. They won't do what's right. They won't be here for the country. They're putting themselves ahead of their journalistic responsibility and the needs of the country. So there's not going to be a summer of Biden. Joe Biden is a sick man, and CNN frankly looks disgusting for piling onto him like this. The book itself was pretty disgusting. I would love to know what Joe Biden ever did to these people to deserve this kind of treatment. Meanwhile, they all fluttered onto Mar-a-Lago and kissed the ring when Trump was out of office because they have their book deals. And, a lot of it does come down to that. Like, okay, Jake Tapper knew all this about Biden's mental decline, right? But he never said anything. He had all this reporting after the election. 6 months, never said anything. Held it for his book. So many of these DC journalists are doing that now. They're not telling you the news. They're using the news to promote their wares, to sell you something, to make you spend more money so that millionaires get more millions. It's just absolutely a complete sham. It's a disgusting warping of the news. The news is meant to inform. It's not meant to sell you something. They don't have product placements on the news for a reason. You don't see, well, back when Lester Holt might still be on the NBC News. You don't see like Lester Holt, the NBC Nightly News, going off and selling steak knives in the middle of the newscast. That's not what the news is supposed to do. CBS News is fighting hard for its principles, even while its corporate owner is trying to settle a bogus lawsuit with Donald Trump. It's disgusting, and don't think that what's happening with Joe Biden is not linked to the bigger environment of what the media is doing in self-censorship and caving to Trump. It's all part of the same thing. It's all the same thing. This whole, every time the media focuses on Joe Biden and dementia or whatever, cognitive decline, they're not focusing on Trump's health. They're not focusing on Trump's policies. They're not focusing on Trump taking healthcare away from 14 million Americans through slashes in Medicaid. They're not focusing on research cuts. They're not focusing on what's happening to the healthcare system. They're not focusing on the economy. They're not focusing on, I could go on for hours literally about what they're sacrificing every second they talk about Joe Biden. Joe Biden never deserved this. There was never a scandal with the Biden administration, no matter how much the corporate press tries to retroactively shoehorn one in there. There was never, I mean, seriously, who were the Biden administration officials that were in trouble? There was no Pete Hegseth in the Biden administration or Pete Hegseth type. This is completely unjustified. It's totally wrong. It's not the way the press should behave. It's a dereliction of duty, if we were to use a military term. And frankly, we all deserve better. I'm going to cut this a little tiny bit short today, guys. Simon Fisher, Joyce Adkins, Maureen Spur, El Vorp, Barbara Katz. You know what? I'm going to try to get 5 more minutes because a bunch of you just joined. And I always feel bad, like when people start coming in and joining, and then I had just cut it off and go. Not to mention all the grifting, Darlene Lewis. Yes, this is what the Trump presidency is about, and nobody covers it. Nobody covers the fact that Donald Trump is basically his 2 goals in the White House. He got reelected to avoid going to jail, and he ran for president to, I say steal, but that's not the right term, to use the presidency to enrich himself to a degree that's unfathomable. And how much time do these people spend discussing that? It's a fair question. I haven't sat down and looked at the chat log, the call logs. Um, CNN. Yeah, the whole Robert says CNN seems to want them to toss Biden under the bus for a litmus test for the 2020 election. In their words, to rebuild trust with voters. That's exactly it. They're trying to use Biden to stop Democrats in 2026 and 2028 because there's a freight train building. I mean, the 2026 midterm election, folks, it's looking like it could be a bloodbath. And it's looking like it's going to be. But I'm not saying that because Democrats have great policies or Democrats have this great message or anything yet. This country's angry, and they're angry at Trump now. And they're angry at Republicans now. And the great irony here is it's the same anger that turned on Democrats in 2024. Because Trump, the self-styled deal maker that he is, decided that he was going to come in there and make deals and fix everything. Remember how Trump's supposed to fix everything right away? Well, enough voters in enough places believed him, and what happened was he didn't fix anything. He had no intention of fixing anything. It was all a giant bait and switch. Just like you may be wondering, real quick as an aside, why Democrats brought up the no taxes on tips, their version of no taxes on tips, and passed it with unanimous consent in the Senate. They did it to keep it out of Trump's bill. They did it because the Republican version of no taxes on tips actually would take away the health care from many, many low wage workers, while at the same time make 66% of them ineligible for tax free tips. So, they took it out of the bill. The Senate Republicans can't put it in the bill, which means the House Republicans probably can't put it in the bill. We're going to have to do a whole thing. Hopefully, they don't do this final vote before Thursday. Now they're saying they're going to try to do this House vote by the end of the week. We really have to sit down together, gang, and discuss this bill they're trying to pass in the House and what it means and what happens next if they do pass it and the whole process, because there is a big process here. Everyone's going to hype up, oh, they passed it through the House. Well, guess what? That is this one small hurdle in the passage of this bill. It doesn't end there. And there's no way the Senate's going to pass the House bill. So that's where things get really interesting. So, Susan Oswald and Kevin Paquette, by the way, if I mess up any names, let me know. Kathy Murray, thank you for this. So tired of all the focus on Biden. See, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure to do it. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for, again, being here. All of you guys, thank you for showing up here. This is so important. And it means so much to Sarah and I that you come in and you talk to us. The House vote still scheduled for 1 a.m. The House Rules Committee is going to meet at 1 a.m. and try to pass that bill through. This is Robert. The House Rules Committee will meet at 1 a.m. and try to pass that bill. Those of you who follow Congress will know that the House Rules Committee is the final step before a bill hitting the floor. Yes, they're going to try to squeeze it through at 1 a.m. while everyone is asleep. Which nothing says this is a great bill that we're going to run on next year and win re-election with, then trying to pass it in the middle of the night and hoping no one notices, because that's what's going on. So yeah, Robert, the meeting at the Rules Committee is still happening at 1 a.m. Eastern. I don't really want to be up to follow that, so let's not do that. Let's just. I think we just don't want to. Do we really want to? Do you really want me to stay up at 1 in the morning and write something about a Rules Committee vote? I could. Really don't want to be honest. So here's how this is all going to go down, I think, to sum this up. I think that the cancer announcement for Joe Biden pretty much took the wind out of the Jake Tapper CNN sales. And it wasn't just CNN. I mean, you saw NBC jump on this. You saw every network and outlet jump on this. That is how this stuff goes. because it's a groupthink mentality, and with DC journalists, it's a pack mentality. So once somebody has the idea, they all grab it and run it and seize it. There's not a whole lot of expertise and originality among that crowd. There is a lot of personal ambition, but that I think that the cancer diagnosis pretty much popped the bubble on the summer of Biden scandal. I think it just comes with it. Every time I even hear somebody talk about it, it just makes me cringe. The whole thing, it gone from enraging me that they would make such a baseless allegation against somebody who didn't deserve it. And by the way, if this was a Republican that people were just making stuff up about and didn't deserve it and taking it this far, that's still wrong too. It's not right. None of this is right. None of this is the way things should be done. Okay, guys, it's 5:24. The internet connection survived. Thank you so much for being here. Keep watching this space, as a certain MSNBC journalist says, because we're gonna have stories. We're gonna be back with some more live video as soon as I can get back into position to do such a thing. Linda Kay, Maureen A. Malone, Jeffrey Widener, Rachel Hendricks. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Eileen Brown, so many of you guys. I see different names too. It's really nice. Usually we do these in the morning. We do these at about 11 a.m. Eastern time. Barbara joined. Oh, Barbara, I'm so sorry. We're just wrapping this up. But usually we do these at 11 a.m. Eastern time on Tuesdays. Darlene Lewis, thank you, says thank you. I say you're welcome and thank you. We try to do these at 11 a.m. Eastern time. We're working on a strategy for me to do more stuff more frequently. Sarah is really the brains behind, expert behind all that. Sarah is supposed to be joining us on every other Tuesday. So she should be back the Tuesday, if I got my schedule right in my head, the Tuesday after next. So Sarah will be here soon. Up, Jed and Carol, Karen's. Hope that says Karen's. Hope I got that right. Eventually, I'm going to learn how to pronounce everybody's last name, which, as long as more people don't keep showing up, will be relatively easy, won't it? But we hope more people show up. We hope more people join us. This is really important, what you're doing here. Thank you for supporting, if you do, Politicus USA on the daily. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You guys make us possible. We are just people. We are experts in our field, but we are not in the DC media. We are not in the Beltway. We are just experts trying to help work through this time with you, and we are happy to be here. We love the fact that we can do this for you, and we can only do this for you because of your support. So please consider subscribing to the Daily and Politicus USA, or just pick one or the other. The Daily is Sarah. Sarah's the boss person and visionary there. She has. We do more longer form and explanatory and exploratory journalism there. Politicus is that's me and more news of the day kind of stuff. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. We will see you very soon. Bye, all.